Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, this is Dr. Keith McNally, and today I had the opportunity to talk to Robert Grover. Robert Grover is an education specialist who specializes in STEM education and project-based learning. And today we talk about the databot and how the databot is used in PBL. So this interview actually occurs in three parts, and so join me now for the first part of this interview.
It's been a tough year for sure, but it's really been a fantastic year for us in a lot of ways. It wasn't the most fortuitous timing for us to launch a new classroom technology product. So we had just gotten through kind of our soft launch and we had a bunch of people starting to use it in the classroom. Databot was being picked up by a number of resellers. We've got some great partners that are all over the world that are going to help us, promote it and get the word out. But unfortunately, all the things that were going to take place in the spring of 2020 didn't happen. So in terms of, what we had anticipated as a formal product launch, that never really took place. But we ended up having a great year in the sense of being able to work pretty closely with the teachers and users who we had already made connections with. We developed some great pilot programs where databot was being used remotely as well. For remote education, it turns out it's a really, really well-designed tool because it's small, portable, super tough. Kids can use it very easily. It's easy to connect and use. So it turns out to be a great field tool. We had one really fun pilot program that was in Austin, Texas. We had 50 Girl Scouts all receive databots, and they would log on in the morning and do a virtual coaching session. And then they would go out and do their experiments throughout the day, and then they'd come back in and post their results and share, compare
That's
notes, things
That's
like that.
cool. How did that happen? How did you set that up?
It was with one of our reselling partners, a company called Revision Ed, is based in Austin there. And they work with the local Starbase program. And Starbase is a Department of Defense funded youth program.
Okay.
But there's like 67 sites across the country, and I think they're all connected to bases, and they provide youth services to kids.
Okay.
And this particular one, they partnered with the local Girl Scouts and ran this summer camp called CO2 Science with all those girls, and it was really successful. So we did 5 days worth of activities for this CO2 Science program. And, that's really, that really dovetails into your project-based learning, inquiry, because the way we designed the CO2 Science series is, you can do these independent modules that focus on things like the Cave of Dogs, which is all about density of gases. But bigger picture, it's all about carbon dioxide. So it's an exploration of what is CO2 and how do we interact with CO2. So it's not just an exploration, for example, of, climate change is one of the topics. So you talk about how does CO2 impact our environment when we have too much of it? Where does it come from? What can we do to mitigate CO2? So, that's one specific topic. Other topics that we introduce in the CO2 Science series are chemical reactions. So we teach kids about, the actual molecules and how do you create CO2 out of materials. Another one of the modules is, air quality. So we talk about volatile organic compounds and CO2 levels in the air and where that comes from. And then we do another one that is life science. So we talk about human respiration, how we take in oxygen and we exhale CO2. And then there's the Cave of Dogs, which is density of gases, which is showing that students learn that CO2 is heavier than air, basically. So you learn about characteristics of gases, you learn about density of gases, and you do the experiment that actually shows you, okay, wow, CO2 is heavier than air. But all of those things together are a great exploration because it's all cross-disciplinary. not really focused on just, one aspect of CO2. You're seeing it from many different angles. So it's a really interesting approach to it.
Robert, thank you so much. I love hearing about what you and the databot are doing. So that concludes part one of our interview. Please join us again when we move into part two and we take a look at the backstory behind databot. I'll see you then. Take care.